Good morning, my friends. Today it's a beautiful day. Not a cloud in the sky, clear blue horizon. Very nice to look out at that. So today I'm looking at another suggestion here, and I'm going to talk about group chats today, as requested by someone I know. Group chats are definitely a very interesting phenomenon that has existed probably only, I would say, in the last 10 years, maybe even less than that. We sort of don't really realize how group chats haven't really existed that long. Before that, we just had texting. I'm not even sure if group texts were even a thing. I don't even remember. First time I ever had a cell phone even was 2009. And then first time I actually even used it socially was probably 2 or 3 years later, once I had a smartphone for the first time. So, and then being in a group chat, probably only 4 or 5 years I've been doing that, which is I sort of don't really realize how rare of an occurrence these phenomenons are. That group chats haven't really existed that long. And I will say group chats are a very dynamic, interesting thing to go about. They've been sort of at the forefront of a lot of social gatherings nowadays. They can be very chaotic, I find. Usually we sort of think of group chats as just being friends, but in a group chat setting, to where if we want to make plans to meet up, it's very convenient in that sense. But it sort of turns into this free-for-all of basically what we think of each other when we're alone. Which is a very interesting thing to realize, is that once you're in a group chat setting with other people, you don't have that real-life barrier where you sort of feel like you need to be a little bit more civil, a little bit more standoffish, I guess. Once you're in the group chat, you sort of lose inhibition. And this depends on the person. Some people that just don't interact with group chats whatsoever, but then there's that sort of inhibition that's leaving you once you're in the group chat setting, and you sort of feel like you're safe to sort of say anything you want to the other person without experiencing any sort of repercussions or emotional baggage or what have you. And, it's an interesting thing to look at. I also find that the people who are in group chats, who tend to be the most vocal, happen to be the most introverted people in the group setting. If you're in a group chat with a group of friends, and if you meet them in real life, the people who are most vocal tend to be the ones who are actually usually more quiet, usually not really the ones to say much when they're in the group. And the people who are the loudest in real life, the people who are most rambunctious and sociable, tend to be very quiet in the group chat setting. They sort of don't really interact that much. They sort of stand off a little bit more, but everyone's different, obviously. Been in several group chats that are with people online, which is also a different phenomenon, because I've never met these people in real life, but we're in a group chat setting. Again, it's a different dynamic because we actually don't really know what it would be like to meet up in real life. It's very interesting, though, to see that kind of thing happen. It's there is this notion that we need to. I sort of wonder what these people, I wonder what these people who I've never met before, what they're going to be like if I ever meet them in real life. And it's definitely going to be a bit different, because we're all different in real life. What we put on the internet is a very different aspect of ourselves, which I think hasn't really been looked into a lot lately, about who we are on the internet versus who we are in real life. I think a lot of people tend to change a lot once they're on the internet. They change their internet persona, and I think that people have different sort of ideas as to who they are online versus who they are in real life. And I think that's an important thing to sort of look into and understand that people are different when, depending on the context you're seeing them. Like I said, introverted people I find tend to be very vocal, not just in group chats, just on social media in general. And the people who are extroverted in real life tend to be very quiet on social media. They're not really present, they're just kind of in the background, so to speak. And there's people who are sort of outliers. They're sort of introverted real life, introverted online, extroverted real life, extroverted online. But there's I find those people a little bit more to be outliers than the actual people who exhibit those qualities. I think it's just a question of whether extroverted people are finding less reason to be on social media because they're out socializing in real life, and introverted people, since they're a lot more reflective, tend to use social media as a way of expressing that self-reflection in a sense, so to speak, which is definitely interesting. I definitely see a lot of people who use social media as a diary, so to speak. They sort of use this method of introversion and self-reflection and just sort of put it out there for the world to see. It becomes a diary, so to speak. I'm sort of transitioning from talking about group chats to social media because I don't really know what else to talk about group chats. They're just kind of in this weird world of friendship that's different from real life. Yeah, but social media definitely turns people to different kinds of people, right? We see that these people act a lot differently. I feel like I've noticed a lot of people, especially that I know, when they're on social media, they have this sort of presence. It's like a PC presence, or the term that I'm seeing on Twitter or online in general is NPC, which stands for non-playable character, which I find kind of funny that there's people like outside of the real life world, they sort of want to put up an image that they are, rigid and fit in with society's norms, society's political beliefs, society's social beliefs, and they sort of fit into that mold and they become that exact thing, and they sort of stop sort of expressing a human characteristics. They're sort of just become robots on the internet, of course. In real life, they become totally different. You might notice that they're a lot more friendly in real life, but on the internet, they're like these robots. Which is definitely interesting why people choose to be like that. I know for myself, I'm definitely not the kind of person. In real life, I tend to be a lot more calm and collected and not really react to things so strongly. On the internet, though, it becomes a lot more instant, right? It becomes a lot more relevant to me for some reason. I'm not really sure. There have been plenty of times where irritating or annoying things have happened to me in real life to where I can remain my cool and stay calm, but then there's just like a little tiny thing that irritates me on the internet and it kind of makes me get a lot more aggravated, which I find interesting, which is something that taken a while to sort of reflect on and try to understand more about myself. And I think people should look into that. There is this aspect of the internet persona that everyone has, whether they like it or not, whether they choose to not use the internet, is an internet persona. You're sort of withdrawing from society in a sense to go out into the real world or to wherever you want to go. There is a relationship between the internet and who we are in real life that I feel like needs to be addressed. And I don't know. It's definitely something that I feel like hasn't been tapped into because I feel like this is such new territory. Internet persona, I think, has only been really relevant probably the past 10 or so years, probably even less. Probably since the invention of Facebook, a little bit after. Since Facebook existed, it was a little bit more awkward because people weren't really used to the social media dynamic. They sort of just went on there, posted pictures of their family, and status updates were pretty mundane, day to day, like, oh, I'm doing homework now. It wasn't really as intense, I would say, or as in depth It's definitely matured a lot more and become a lot more ingrained into who we are as people, who the social media presence tends to be. And yeah, it's very interesting stuff. I feel like definitely if you were a sociologist or whatever that did, like job title you might have, definitely look into the internet persona because it definitely shows a different half of what a human being is, because people are very different on the internet to what they are in real life. And I think they relate to each other in a weird way, but it's sort of like an opposite effect, if that makes sense. It's the internet sort of makes us, it's like a world where it expresses who we want to be in society, so to speak, or not who we want to be, but who we believe ourselves to be. It's not necessarily who we are, but who we, I don't know. I really don't know how to describe it. It's just, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, internet persona. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that, and I hope you have a wonderful day.